What urban legend needs to die? The idea that there are people in your neighborhood just waiting for the chance to poison your kids by giving them unwrapped Halloween candy. Or that they're giving out free drugs. Any smart drug dealer would try and get small children hooked. Little kids are notorious for having lots of disposable income. It just supports the stranger danger shtick, and I'll admit that is important but wouldn't have helped in the one actual time this happened. Because it wasn't a rando poisoning candy for kicks, it was a father who was trying to kill his child for the insurance money. The greatest danger to a child isn't strangers, it's their family and the inner circle, family friends, etc. That you need to wait 24 hours to report someone as missing. You can, and should, report someone as missing as soon as they go missing. It could be the difference between finding someone who had a bad fall at home or getting lost in the forest, and finding their body. Had a full-blown helicopter search last week at a lake near my house because a kid went missing for about 10 minutes. They found him playing at a near playground about half an hour later. But the police press guy said that the mother did the right thing, especially the kids went missing so close to a lake. We had that too. Small country town. Immediately the helicopter was out, cops from other towns and the entire town was searching. It was within 30 minutes of the parents reporting him missing. Found him. He was hiding under the bed. Probably one of the most dangerous urban myths. Report someone missing as soon as you feel is necessary. That you can target fat on a particular place on your body, like tummy fat. Fat doesn't know where it lives. Edit. I am, believe it or not, aware of the existence of plastic surgery. You don't need to tell me about it. I mean, you technically can target fat on a specific area of your body. It's called liposuction. Been lifting for about 10 years now. Anytime I hear someone say something about target fat loss, I just say if you could target fat loss, there'd be a lot of fat guys with six packs. Lol, I've never thought of that. Never seen someone with super flabby arms, a fat ass, but ripped abs. See the opposite plenty, though. Surprised at the number of people doing an Iron Man with a noticeable amount of belly fat. That people only use 10% of your brain. That is only true for politicians. Some people say we only use 10% of our brains. I think we only use 10% of our hearts. And people chronically on Twitter. You don't eat spiders in your sleep. The average person eats 7 spiders in their lifetime could still be true if none of us eat any spiders at all, but that guy over there eats like 30,000 of them every single day. Do you fucking promise? I eat them when I'm awake. That touching baby birds or rabbits will cause their mothers to reject them because they smell like human. They absolutely will not. Don't go messing with babies for kicks, but if you can put a baby, that you are 100% sure belongs there, back in its nest, do so. If you aren't sure, call a wildlife rehabilitator so you're not putting fledglings where they don't belong. Damn, had to Google this one to be sure. Thanks. But yes, importantly, most baby animals do not need to be handled at all. Mother is nearby and hiding from you. Leave the area and don't bother the baby unless it's injured or clearly abandoned. Less than 3. You can move bunnies and they'll just dig a new hole somewhere else. Source: I had a big ass dog that would constantly dig up any rabbit holes he found. I would just move the bunnies behind the fence and everything was okay. This is not entirely true, but how you can test is when your dog uncovers a rabbit den with babies, you can cover it up as much as possible and put flour around it. Then you can tell if the mother returns after a day or so. If not, you can take them to a wildlife rescue. You can't get STDs from oral sex. One of the clinics I work at is a free sexual health clinic. Too many women are in there for mouth/throat/other digestive problems stemming from unprotected oral sex and various STDs. To go with this, if you have anal and oral sex, you probably need anal and oral STI testing, not just urine testing. It's a common error. Edit: to add to this, HIV isn't generally spread through oral sex, but plenty of other things are. STDs are wild, you can get them in your eyeballs. Anywhere with a concentration of nerve endings. You can actually get herpes on your nose. Our 7th grade English teacher Miss Jackson was not in Playboy in the 1980s. It does not matter that your brother's cousin's neighbor has the actual issue and they are going to bring it into school someday. I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. I am 4 eels. My high school's version of this was actually true. The Bermuda fucking Triangle. I live in Bermuda. The triangle is smack dab in the middle of hurricane territory, so ships and planes back in the day, that didn't have weather mapping, would get spanked by them frequently. It's so irritating when you're trying to introduce yourself, saying I'm from Bermuda and the response is Lee K the T re and Galo MGH how did you S or a vive. Edit, Bermuda also has the highest cost of living in the world. More than NYC, Switzerland, or Dubai. Edit 2. Methane from volcanoes in the triangle is just bogus. The only volcano that's anywhere near the triangle is the dormant one that formed Bermuda. Many a hurricane passes through the triangle every single year. Go back a couple hundred years and I'm sure you'd think that traveling through there was cursed when realistically it was just a stupid time of year to travel that way. Edit number 3. Thank you for the upvotes. I just want people to see my little island X. Y'all are redonkulous. 4K plus? That's over 5% of the population. Edit number 4. We are now at over 10% of the population. Lord a mercy. P.S. Bermuda doesn't have sharks like that. No one has ever been attacked. At most, a couple tiger sharks and nurse shakes have been seen, which is an island-wide spectacle, but they aren't on our radar like that. Same with tectonic plates. Nowhere near any of them. Greater than. Edit, Bermuda also has the highest cost of living in the world. More than NYC, Switzerland, or Dubai. OMG, how did you survive? Bermuda Triangle was right there with quicksand as top 5 scariest ways to die when we were young. We can thank the never-ending story for the quicksand part. Damn it. That daddy long legs are the most venomous spiders in the world, but their fangs just aren't big enough to spread enough venom. Edit, I'm referring to cellar spiders. Daddy long legs is a vague term that describes several types of arachnids. None of them are venomous though. Wait, shit, they can bite? Yes, but it's not going to hurt you. It'll be no worse than a mosquito bite or bee sting, excluding those who are allergic to bees. Edit, I mean in terms of harmlessness, not pain. Of course one hurts more than the other. That Marilyn Manson had a rib removed to suck his own member. Richard Gere and the gerbil lol. There was talk of gerbils, Mickey Rooney. He even said he didn't in an interview. He said, well, if I did, you think I'd be here right now? Detoxing treatments. No, Sharon, harmful chemicals are not just going to ooze out of your face and feet if you use that mask. That's not how the human body works at all. Damn. We have kidneys and a liver specifically for this reason. My favorite was some celebrity pushing alkaline water. She said my favorite way to drink it is with a drop of lemon juice. Like, honey, that's an acid. You've just neutralized any alkaline in the water. 2 claps. There's a chapter about this nonsense in The Angry Chef. There's a whole quack diet movement that has adopted alkaline, aka, stuff we've decided it's good for you, and acid, aka, stuff we've decided is bad for you, which has nothing to do with the food's chemical properties. They consider lemon to be one of the most alkaline foods available. People giving out free drugs to kids. If someone offers you free drugs, say, thank you, because drugs are expensive. This is real life advice. All the ones about human trafficking that create a totally fictionalized idea of what human trafficking actually looks like. And on that note, the idea that you have to wait 24 hours to report someone who is missing. I answer 911 calls. That myth always frustrates me. If you believe someone has gone missing or something bad has happened to them even in the last 5 minutes, if you give me some proof of concern, we're gonna send you help right away. I remember a few years back there was this ahem scandal, where I think it was Wayfair. It probably wasn't, but just imagine a big furniture name brand, selling exuberantly expensive products, named like the Laura Collection, or the Stephen Collection. I remember people were actually thinking this was real human trafficking sponsored by Wayfair, thinking like in the drawers of this desk was a kid named Laura. If the funniest, dumbest, saddest thing I've ever heard. That MSG is toxic. Edit, as an Aussie it took me a minute to work out what all the replies about MTG meant, but yes, seeing the full name I agree Marjorie Taylor Greene is as toxic as cyanide. No urban legend there. Fucking lunatic. Especially as an Aussie it's like WTF America? I've been to Madison Square Garden several times, there is nothing toxic about it. Except for all the horrible Rangers fans. MSG is a fucking godsend. I am a white 23F and have a minor in Mandarin. My professor has adopted a group of us and we all eat at her house sometimes where it is a staple in her cooking. MSG is basically just a flavor enhancer. I can barely cook without it now. Of course the conspiracy branch of my family, luckily not my immediate, tell me it will give me cancer. That vaginas get loose from having sex. There's really men out here that believe this. I love that it's implied that they're loose if they've had sex with a lot of different men. But if it's the same guy over and over, it doesn't get loose? It's like a memory foam mattress that conforms to that one penis. /S. Had to include the /S or someone would believe me. And that the telltale sign of that looseness is the shape of the labia, somehow. Way to let everyone know that you've never been anywhere near female genitalia. That doctors will let you die if you are an organ donor to steal your organs. The craziest thing is that it's the exact opposite. To donate organs, your body has to be in absolutely perfect health. Every possible intervention to keep your organs healthy will be made, including things that wouldn't normally be done for the average healthy person, such as micromanaging your blood pH. My stepson actually believed this and also believed that the same was true for EMS personnel that worked on ambulances. I actually got into an argument with him about it because I thought that was the stupidest thing ever, as if the medics are pulling out your wallet to check your donor status before they start administering first aid. Once I pointed that out, he started to reconsider the ridiculousness of the theory, but I'm pretty sure he still believes that it's true once you get to the hospital. That some guy tried to sneak acid into a festival by taping it to his body and it absorbed through his skin, and now he thinks he's a glass of orange juice or a sunflower. When I was in high school in the 80s, he ended up in the psych ward thinking he was an orange. Poor guy didn't even get a festival. He lived in the next town over. True, he thinks he's a tube of toothpaste. In my country, there's something called diochi or diokiate, which mainly translates to evil eye or getting evil-eyed. It is believed that this happens when an older person admires a younger person too much. And no, not in a disturbing way, more like a grandma admiring her grandson for how handsome he is and such. The grandson starts feeling sick, fatigued, nauseous, etc. This is an actual, real phenomenon that happens because of the widespread belief in it. I've experienced it a couple of times when I was young, and I've seen many others experience it. The cure for this diochi is most of the times a prayer, or a charm that, get this, you can't be taught, you have to steal it from a gypsy. It all of course is fake, just superstition, the power of belief. After I figured it out and stopped believing it at age 14 to 15, I've stopped experiencing it completely. The people I managed to convince that this doesn't really exist, stopped experiencing it as well, confirming my theory. Just goes to show how influential believing in stupid stuff can be. In my culture, you compete for the grandparents' affection so they leave you some sweet boomer loot when they die. Spot the Romanian lol. Also, Mexicans and Persians believe this. I've got a turquoise little eyeball talisman hanging from my 4-month-old daughter's crib that her aunt made to keep away the evil eye magic or whatever. Sex does not have a lasting impact on vaginal tension. See this way too often. The truth is the vagina crushes penises and makes them smaller over time, but men can't handle this. I knew it. I've been having too much sex, that's my problem. Somehow, a vagina that's seen 100 men could propel a catamaran across the Pacific. However, a vagina that's seen one man 100 times has remained fresh out of the package. Boiling frogs. Frogs jump out of water when it gets too warm for them. The important detail that is always neglected with this is that prior to slowly boiling the frogs, the scientist had to sever the brain stems in order to keep them from hopping out when it became uncomfortable. Imagine that. If you give things a traumatic brain injury, they lose their survival instincts. That it's super illegal to turn on your car's inside dome light while driving at night. Probably started by people that were tired of passengers turning them on. This one should just stay ho. If it keeps one kid from turning on lights in the car once, it's worth it. You've become your father. Phil Collins and the reason he wrote In the Air Tonight. It was about his divorce. There was an interview about it. Edit. The urban legend I heard was that a friend of Phil's drowned and a guy let him drown. Years later, the guy was at Phil's concert, so Phil put the spotlight on the guy and sang this song. That's my version of what I heard. I met a guy who earnestly told me that Freddie Mercury was a murderer. Why, you ask? Well, it's obvious. He literally says he just killed a man in Bohemian Rhapsody. Isn't that just a melodramatic song lyric? No, you see, it's a metaphor for his complicity in spreading AIDS through unprotected gay butt sex. You see, when Freddie Mercury wrote the lyrics to Bohemian Rhapsody, he somehow knew about the spread of HIV in the gay community, including its manner of transmissions and the fact that he himself was HIV positive, despite the song being released in 1975, several years before the disease was even identified as such in 1981. I've never heard any legends about it. What's the other thing people say it's about? I think the urban legend is that he watched a man drown and then wrote a song about it. Ostriches. Do not bury their heads in the sand. If they're afraid of something, they will run, kick, or bite. One of my biggest animal myth pet peeves. I found out where the myth came from. Greater than to make sure that the eggs are evenly heated, They occasionally stick their heads into the nest to rotate the eggs, which makes it look like they're trying to hide, hence the myth. Allegedly. But what if it's a sick ostrich? That if you ask if someone's a cop, they have to tell you if they are a cop. This feels like something that was invented by cops. Well, if I was a cop, I'd be legally required to tell you, so of course you can believe me when I say I'm not. Right, we've been planning this undercover operation for months. Time to infiltrate this organized crime gang. Are you a cop? Fuck. That there's litter boxes in high school classrooms. I've heard this about 3 to 4 different schools in my area. Edit, I get there's litter to clean up vomit and for the active shooter stuff. I'm talking about the people who swear they know someone who says there's a litter box for a girl in a cat suit and butt plug tail who makes all the students watch her poop in the corner. It's an anti-LGBTQIA+ dog whistle. I had teachers that kept cat litter in their classrooms to help clean up vomit. Kids get sick a lot. Yeah, that whole story is so dumb. It comes from a video posted by a school teacher that conservative news channels chopped up to make into a narrative about trans cat people, but the original video has nothing to do with that. In the original video, a teacher is going through what is essentially a school shooter survival kit, that included buckets with a sand-type substance inside to use as portable bathrooms if they had to be locked down for an extremely long period of time. The teacher was basically expressing how fucked up it is that things have gotten to this point in this country where these survival kits are necessary. Leave it to Fox News to chop something up to rage bait boomers with fake outrage. It's fucking gross. I have heard the story a bunch of times too, from people that live in different states, and every time it is told the person says, "So I have a friend who has a friend that is a teacher." Like, no you don't, you have a friend named Tucker Carlson, fix your brain. If it was true that this was for trans cat people, we would know. Every single high school student has a phone in their pocket and someone would have put it on TikTok by now. Black cats are evil. No, they're not. Edit, getting spammed with all cats are evil. Guys, I'm referring to different urban myths around the world which states that a black cat a demonic possession or just pure evil, related to witch and stuff. Where I live, and I'm sure it happens elsewhere too, people have tortured or attacked black cats around the time of Halloween and shelters have a massive influx of black cats. They're cute. They're like a little void that comes up to you and asks for pats. When you stare into the void goes mlum. That it's a felony offense to rip the tag off of your mattress. There was a major scandal in the past, where a couple mattress manufacturers were recycling used mattresses, restuffing them, and subsequently reselling them. It is only illegal for stores and manufacturers to rip the tags off of new mattresses for sale. However, once you buy it, and your mattress warranty expires, usually after 1 year or less, feel free to rip that annoying tag off. I gotta rewatch Pee-wee's Big Adventure. TBH, back in the 80s the tag only stated do not remove this tag under penalty of law, and every single 80s kid was terrified of doing this. I think it was in the late 90s that they finally added some language that clarified that the end client could remove the tag. I read the tags when I was 9 or 10, 1979 or 1980, because it seemed like a really weird thing for them to make illegal, and they said not to be removed except by consumer back then. That vaccines cause autism. This one is less myth than intentional misinformation. There was indeed a study showing this, and it was conducted by a medical doctor, but 3 important factors are always ignored. First, legitimate studies are repeatable, meaning that if another doctor does the same thing they should get the same result. While this has been attempted, not once has anyone successfully duplicated the results. Second, the doctor involved was later found to have received a large payment from a law firm that neither he nor the firm could explain. The same law firm was at that time trying to bring a class action lawsuit against a vaccine manufacturer. Finally, the doctor was later stripped of his medical license for falsifying data. Yet people still insist his study was legitimate, and the hundreds of studies that refute his claims are part of a conspiracy. You forgot the part where he created his own alternative vaccine brand to push instead of the standard vaccines. Wakefield can go to hell. Also, that essential oils cure autism. That there are hot women in my area waiting for me to chat with them. Hey, I once went through the whole starting course to start working for those websites, out of curiosity. The people working there can actually be hot, and they can actually be women, and they are actually waiting for you to chat with them, as some websites pay employees according to how many messages they send. They're probably not in your area though, and you're never going to find out what they actually look like, as all employees share the fake profiles and fake personas. Being afraid to flash lights at another car driving with their headlights off for fear that they'll chase you down and murder you. I mean, in a time when 6-year-olds are being shot for losing their basketball onto someone else's property, Can you really blame this one for sounding legit? Yeah, but this one is from at least 30 years ago. Okay. I remember hearing about this as a kid, that some gang initiation where gangs would roll down State Street in SLC without their headlights and murder the first person that flashed their lights. Meeting some of our new neighbors, somehow I brought this up jokingly and the lady looked like her heart dropped out, then turned and said that her dad was the victim of that event. Did some research and sure as shit, her dad was shot after flashing lights at a car that was doing some gang initiation. It was a one-time thing in SLC, but yeah, totally some stupid kids doing stupid shit.